Velkommen til LØRN.tech, en læringsdugnad om teknologi og samfunn, med Silvia Ceres og venner.
Hello and welcome to Case with LØRN and BI Norwegian Business School. This is a part of a series we're creating together to explore the main challenges and opportunities in creating good AI as a part of a BI course, Responsible AI Leadership. My guest today is CEO Erlend Andreas Gjære from Secure Practice, and my co-host is Samson Esaias, an associate professor at the Department of Law and Governance at BI. Welcome to both of you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm going to ask you very briefly to introduce yourselves, because we really learn better from people that we feel we know at least a little bit. And then we're going to talk about security and privacy as business enablers with an entrepreneurial twist. And I'm really, really curious. So we'll start with Samson and then go to Erlend. Who are you and why do you care about this?
Okay, Samson Esaias. I'm an associate professor here at BI Norwegian Business School, and I'm co-responsible together with my colleague Christian Fischler for this executive master's course in AI, responsible AI leadership that we are working together with LØRN. And of course, I have a law background. I have been working for several years in the intersection between law and technology, looking into data protection concerns, of course, all fairness concerns, and the new several of the new legislative instruments in the EU now, with the AI Act, Data Governance Act. So basically anything to with this interplay between law and technology would be something interesting. And
I have a question for you, Samson, because you were relatively early in this field, this intersection of technology and law, as you say, but it seems like your time has come just now. This seems to be a super, super hot topic right now. Do you experience the same?
Well, I mean, I don't feel like I'm early, because I have been part of the Norwegian Research Center for Computers and Law, which was actually established in 1970s. So
it's becoming mainstream.
Yes,
where I'm heading
definitely, yes, it is. It's basically, I mean, normally we had this idea of certain types of laws, privacy, data protection, were quite digital in the sense. You focus mainly in relation to digital markets. But now, I mean, every law, financial, banking regulation, it's become digital. So there is quite a lot of interest in that sense. Mainly everything is becoming law and technology now.
Thank you. Erlend, who are you?
So I am a co-founder actually at Secure Practice, a company started in 2017. And we have this focus on security and people, which is a bit unique in our space, because mostly security has been a lot about technology, information security, cybersecurity. There's so much security technology. Like when I entered the space as a researcher, actually 10 or 12 years ago, like if you had a firewall, antivirus, and spam filter, that was the definition of basically security for many companies, if they had that at all. But then I entered more into like the practitioner part of kind of research and applied research, and then also tried to train my fellow researchers at the company I was in secure behavior, secure practices at work, and of course, like in their private personal life as well, because we're now all kind of digital citizens. We're all living in this space where we cannot ignore the fact that we are living in a digital world, and it affects all of us. So as a consequence, everyone needs to know something about information security and staying safe online. And this has been like a passion for me to really help people with this part. And I think we started Secure Practice to do this, to help people in order to help the companies, because companies also depend on the human factor. We cannot ignore the fact that people are, people, both at work and otherwise. So, and there's no security system that will work without having the people part in good health.
Just one question, maybe. Okay, sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, I mean, was this basically driven by empirical data? My sense is actually many of the security breaches happen because of human error, right? Is that empirically supported?
Yeah, that's right.
Would you say?
The Verizon data breach investigation report, which comes annually, it says like 85 or 87 or 90% of all incidents are kind of somewhat related to human error. You could say 100% because there's a human somewhere.
Yeah.
But very often it's like about a human like clicking a link or doing something bad with an email or on a website or something. But then you have a lot of other cases as well, and we're kind of gotten used to calling it like bad luck, or it could happen to anyone, and it's like, what can you do about it? But we really wanted to solve this problem and try to go beyond like the de facto standard. Let's do like annual security awareness training, e-learning, something, and hope that people kind of get the best out of it and stay safe otherwise. But I really think and believe that we are able to do more, and this is why we also entered into the AI space with our company Secure Practice. We try to use AI to assist our human intelligence, but also the other way, because we see people not as weaknesses. There is not like if you just cut the people out of our systems, then
it'd be great.
We just
cut out your employees and cut out your customers, and you have no more problems.
Exactly. We can't really do that. So you have to tackle it in another way. And then we find actually people are so great resources, but they need to kind of believe that they're able to deal with digital security. Most people kind of back off and think, hey, this is not really anything of my concern, or I'm just a little bit scared when I'm faced with like Russian or Chinese hackers trying to attack my company. It's like, how do we kind of stay safe from that? But
You'll have to explain to us your service, but I just want to give you another example to give some more fun color to this. I was speaking with with the management of a company yesterday that had this security awareness program, and they were going to teach people, not to respond to phishing attempts. So, don't click on a link if the email has an extra digit, or, look for, weird domain names, look for misspellings. And when they did an internal test, something like more than 20%, I think, clicked, and quite a big percentage proceeded, even, after clicking to provide the password or some such. And in some cases, they even called, they didn't, their kind of IT services were not informed about this test. So some of these people actually did call their internal IT to ask, should I click on this link? And they say, yeah, go ahead. So I think that, learning or education about cybersecurity still feels like some of those, let me just get it out of the way. And we haven't really understood the incredible consequences this might have for our business or for, I learned like a couple of weeks ago, a human error with one of the suppliers down the value chain to the national mapping institution we have, Kartverket, led to a leakage of matrikkeldata. Shouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen in the public sector. But, human error.
Yeah. People are kind of called the weakest link in the chain because, we're not predictable as humans compared to computers. We tell computers what to do, but you cannot just tell humans what to do, right? So we can all fail, and it's really human to fail. And you know what, Sylvia? This week, I I actually clicked on a phishing simulation myself.
What should you have noticed? Or why was it just extremely well done?
Yes, we hired 2 new employees, 2 students from NTNU, and on their first day, after 2 hours, I went out for like a seminar, an IT seminar, and on my way back, I got this email on my phone saying, "Hey, are you on the? Didn't you show up? So here's a fee you have to pay for not showing up." And I was like, "Hey, but I was there." I clicked, and these 2 students, they actually tricked me on their first day.
Wow.
So I've been doing this for so many years, telling people not to click. And this time they got to me. So credits to them. Everyone can be tricked. But
Okay, so how are you trying to address the problem, Erlend? Can you tell us what secure AI does?
Yeah, so what we really need to do is to make people kind of believe in their own capability of dealing with security, and not make people like intimidated by the fact that like digital security is very digital, and this can be frightening because we don't understand the consequences or how it works, because it's IT and people, they're experts in other areas, right? And what we want to do, and what we use AI to do, first of all, we have this mail risk tool to help people with suspicious emails. So it's a button you can click to get help if you're suspicious of something, and you get a feedback. This is safe, or this is bad. So we use AI there, and I've been using this for many years, and we have hundreds of companies using this service. But then we also now developed this platform for training and personalized training, automated, to address the fact that people are different. Because what security awareness has been so much about is like one size fits all, but actually it fits, well, not nobody, but just the people who are actually receptive to training. They're actually interested. So what we wanted to do is try to build this way to find out, are people interested in what we have to tell them, and what do they actually know from before? Because some people know a lot, while other people, they don't know too much. So the experts who are really interested, like myself at least, we're like not a big risk. But then you have the people who know less or little. If they are interested, that's a good group to like kind of communicate with, because they're receptive to training. But if they are not interested, will it actually help if we kind of just push more and more training of the same stuff that like, you need to be really interested to dive into? Then I have like the apathic people in the middle. So we built this from like research at University College London, actually, and we developed more on this ourselves. We did a research project with NTNU at the Institute for Design, and investigated more like how do we kind of find out what level of interest people have, and how do you kind of profile people in terms of their knowledge in security. Because knowing this, we can actually target various groups of people with various communication messages, just like any communications expert would actually do. You need to target your communication. Talking to the board, talking to people working in the field, engineers or accounting people, or like what are their interests and what are their knowledge. So that's what our tool is doing.
I think it's quite interesting. So this is one of the cases where basically you're using technology to address some of security and privacy issues that might arise in organizations. So, and I know that you've been a researcher, and then you have this transition from a researcher to an entrepreneur, a startup company. So how did you think laws, for example, such as the GDPR or other laws, were actually provided inspiration for founding this company? Did you think that there exists some opportunities there? Yeah.
So first of all, you see this societal change where actually cybersecurity matters, which didn't before, because companies get breached all the time. Boards are now scared, and you see like cyber or ransomware is like on the top like enterprise risk chart. And then you have the regulatory risk, of course. If you're breached, then you get also a fine maybe, and you have personal data spilled out, and people's lives may be affected, and nobody wants to actually harm other people. So the regulatory part is important. And we saw this opportunity now when the landscape was actually changing, to build a company which put cybersecurity on the agenda with the human in focus. And we see it's like the visibility of doing security. It's important, like for culture, organizational culture. It's important because you cannot just say IT will solve this. And if something bad happens, like we have an organization that is not only able to kind of prevent as much as possible, but also to respond to incidents and to deal with it and kind of detect and respond, which is really important because nobody is hack proof. I can also be phished. So it's like you need to work on multiple levels. Like for us as a business, we also see like the regulatory landscape with GDPR. Turns out, of course, on like a policy level, it's important for Europe to be differentiating in the market. Competition-wise with America, and privacy is one way to differentiate. And so, of course, when we build privacy-friendly products, that's a business advantage in the markets in information security, which is mainly dominated by American vendors. So if we build privacy-friendly products, privacy-friendly AI, that's a big advantage.
So do you pitch your service as something that will help companies also kind of comply with the law, or at least contribute to their compliance with the law?
Yeah, so through our tool, we collect a lot of data, but we do it like in a privacy-friendly way. But still, we provide the company with statistical insights, KPIs, to allow companies to manage their risk, to see their risk, pain points, and also good spots. Where do we have low risk? So being able to document this it's a challenge we all have had in IT and IT security for forever. But building good KPIs and actually being able to feed those with data continuously, that's a challenge we've been approaching and trying to solve. So if you have good data and you can actually show, yes, we've been taking this seriously. If something goes bad, it's like not covering your ass, but you can show that you have been working with these things. You have a track record.
Just to understand a couple of use cases, Erlend. So one thing I'm thinking of is your data can show where the security problems usually arise. So you can say that, those processes, those groups, those kinds of tools seem to be originating 80% of the problems. So that's where you should focus. The other thing that you can do is showing that, okay, well, the ones that used to be the biggest problem last year are now really completed. So you don't always have to have this red team, blue team. You can do it a little bit more continuously, right?
Yeah, we have this data model that shows historical development, and we also have like data aging. So if you collected a really high risk incident, for instance, at one point, it would in the first place like increase risk, but then as it ages the data point, then you would, for instance, if you get it into the system and actually someone reports it, then it's a good thing. So you have become aware of it, and being able to handle it and kind of building this insight is very important for strategic decisions and planning.
Yeah, so I see that at an organizational level, your tool actually provides quite a good value in terms of ensuring security and also ensuring privacy as well. But at the individual level, it could actually also raise some really serious privacy concern, because what you're trying to do, as I understand it, is you're trying to categorize people actually based on their behavior. And I mean, normally we have had experiences of how big technology companies try to categorize users based on their behavior. And there is, of course, lots of concerns related to that. And I'm aware that you've been also part of this AI sandbox within the Data Protection Authority. So if you can explain to us, okay, what kinds of concerns are you facing, and what were the motivations, for example, that led to be part of this AI sandbox?
Yeah, so we saw vendors in America pitching products like, we can identify your next cyber breach. And the solution was to name an employee.
Wow.
And maybe this has a really good sales pitch in America, but
you can kind of tattoo hack me on their forehead.
So we kind of thought, let's do this, but try to make it actually trustworthy and safe for people to be a part of, and fit for use in Norway and the world. I think our main motivation here has actually been to build a product where people can feel safe, and they're like getting this positive, like emotional stimuli from actually learning about security. We don't want to pollute that with like, am I being monitored now, or what can they see, and did I learn that I missed out on this part, etc. So we approached dataThe when they launched their regulatory sandbox for AI and said, we want to profile employees in companies with respect to the cyber risk that they kind of represent to the company. And we were kind of tabloid on purpose, because we really wanted to take part of this. It was perfect match with our timeline for product development, because we don't want to retrofit privacy first into a product. You cannot do that. So you have to kind of align that with the overall product strategy and build it in from the start. So we got actually into the sandbox along with NAV and COAS and a genome tech company, and we got this really good approach to like legal and regulatory issues that could come up. We presented our kind of challenges and problems that we want to solve. For instance, how can we secure that an employee is not exposed to their employer with terms of a risk? Because we never wanted to create this tool that the Americans have, right? Yeah. But we still needed the individual tracking of data to personalize and automate. Aggregate, of course. We could aggregate without tracking individually, but it's better this way. Can we do this like, can we say to our customer, although they are like the data controller, and we're just a processor, can we say, no, you cannot access the risk score for Erlend or Samson? They would have like legal grounds to say, yes, we want that because you're just a data processor. One of the solution here, one of them was, of course, we have technical kind of controls to secure that through our portal and our product, the employer cannot get this data on an individual basis. So it uses statistical analysis to scenarios to expose people. But then we also have the legal control where we say, okay, for the individual risk scores, secure practice and the customer are joint controllers. This means we have a shared responsibility. So this is a legal kind of construct in PR that can apply in many situations, but it's not very thoroughly used or mentioned in practice. Usually like controller and processor. You don't have to do like joint controllership for everything. But for the individual risk scores, if we are legally bound to be a joint controllers, then we can say, well, we actually get to decide as well. And we say, no, you cannot have this data. So by putting up this legal firewall up front, you can actually safeguard your own company from doing employee surveillance, because that's what it would become if they could actually inspect like the individual risk scores of employees. So you put up this in front to actually safeguard yourself as a company, to use our tool and use us as a third party to process the data. So this is a bit of, I don't know, privacy innovation, actually, in legal terms, I think. So one of the good outputs from the project.
Wow, quite interesting. I think so. This is something that you actually gain for being part of the AI sandbox. Yeah, that's quite interesting to learn. So you actually came up with concrete solutions in terms of how to address the privacy challenges that you have. But perhaps one question is that would you think that the employer would know who is being, in terms of the education, when you decide to provide education, would they have a mechanism of knowing? Do you have considered those challenges as well?
Yeah, so we did this series of workshops during the Sandbox project. We did Sandbox focus groups with like employees in companies, and we did a focus group with a labor union to like get the real tough questions up. We did a workshop with like the equality and non-discrimination ombud, which I think I got right. And try to like really elicit all these objections that you could have. And one of the outputs from engaging with these kind of people and organizations is you get a chance to find the problems up front, and then you can do kind of mitigating actions in a product, in like information, in transparency, in trust, and the real kind of really important challenge here for us, not only to like make it safe for our customers' organizations to use our product like legally, but we really want to build trust and confidence in our product from the end user side, from the employee side, so they feel comfortable with actually learning about security.
And also sharing data with you. Yeah, I think they have to trust you first to engage with your tools. Yeah.
Yes.
Just a question from me. It sounds, Erlend, like you guys are seeing, there's a growing regulation around cybersecurity. And usually people just feel like all this compliance is driving costs and limiting business. While in your case, it seems like it's improving the quality of our organizations, both in terms of, being more secure, but also perhaps being transparent in the right way, or understanding privacy versus efficiency, etc. So regulation, if done well, and if done in stages as we learn, can really be a driver of both innovation and value.
Absolutely, I think so. You just need to like do it well. It's like Steve Jobs was all about like really getting into a problem and thinking so hard on a problem, kind of finding the ultimate solution. You really have to dive into it, and he used the word like grok it. And it was like with security, it's more like, it's a cost, it's a necessity. Maybe you can skip it because we've been doing fine so far. Nobody has hacked us.
And we have bought some service on cybersecurity. Yeah.
So, but developing your company culture never goes out of fashion, right? And developing our people's skills never goes out of fashion. And people need these skills, both at work, but also at home, to stay safe. And like when we do this, it's like we put up this headline in our project, like AI for a good purpose, right? And nobody can kind of question that the purpose is good to actually make people more safe. Because if you are breached, if you're low on knowledge, if you don't know much, you are much more put at risk for getting a breach, and that would actually cause you harm. So like as the equality and non-discrimination ombud said, it's actually like it's a good kind of discrimination to address these people. And then also you don't have to waste other people's time. So you give like the basic stuff to those who know little, and you give more advanced and interesting stuff to those who are interested. So it's like productive time also in companies. You can do better than one size fits all for training.
Yeah, I think I heard that the equality and the non-discrimination ombudsman was part of the AI sandbox in your case, it seems. So were there kind of particular discrimination bias concerns in relation to the tool? And how did you actually manage those as well in the sandbox? How did the sandbox help in relation to those issues?
Of course, we got to learn a bit about discrimination as well. There are much more than just age and gender you can discriminate on. But one of the challenges to like detecting discrimination is actually when you have AI algorithms. It's like, you need actually data on the parameters you're checking for discrimination to check if there is discrimination in your algorithm. So if we want to check age discrimination or whatever, then we would need info on the age of people. So we would actually need more data. And in our case, we didn't want to go there, at least for now. But what they said is that as long as you can deliver on these like legal and technical guarantees that people will not be exposed individually, there is a low risk of discrimination because you're only providing statistical data and you cannot like address these high-risk people and kind of give them bad projects or lower salaries or whatever. So, but there are many, of course, risks and blind spots there. So you need to kind of be aware of it and work through it. So that's also a regulatory risk that you want to avoid. And it's good to just like get the problems up on the table. And technology is so much more than just the code. It's so much more. So that's also one thing that I'm really intrigued about working in this area. It's so much about people and people's lives.
Yeah, very interesting. So so you think the AI sandbox was useful, and do you think that you would, for example, use your participation in the AI sandbox as a kind of also selling point to companies? Do you mention that you actually participated in the AI sandbox when you make these marketing pitches to companies?
Yeah, we got actually a bit of publicity, and like early on, we actually met potential customers who were like asking, "Yeah, how are you doing in this incident with the Data Protection Authority?" No, it's not an incident. We're doing like a proactive project. We're trying to be edge on privacy here, not the bad guys. Oh, okay, yeah. So actually, the sandbox.
Oh, people actually thought that you were under investigation for. Okay. Yeah.
So that was kind of the negative aspect of being first.
Okay.
I want to add something to that, Erlend, and then I would like to ask Samson to kind of help us conclude on what he thinks are the main issues here. But I know at least 3 other companies that were desperate to get into that sandbox project, with really, really interesting challenges in terms of, privacy and ethics in the use of public data. And they didn't get in. So you must have had a really, really good problem formulation and something that is very socially critical for us. So I just tell people that, we won a competition and it was a hard one in order to get there.
Yes, we chose a problem on privacy in the workplace, which is representing, I think, nearly 30% of all the incoming cases to the Norwegian Data Protection Authority. So it's a really big topic for them, and many people are concerned with it. Of course, like GPS tracking of cars and like vehicles, and there are many kinds of checking people's mailboxes, inspecting that. There are many cases like on a very I don't know, not the commodity level, but then we have this like, how do we deal with AI in the workplace? And now there is this issue with like Microsoft. They have a new tool to detect harassment in the workplace and people who are kind of threatening to leave by analyzing their email and chat logs. It's something that, I mean, it's, well, you don't want harassment, right? So it would be good to prevent that. But as dataThe say, there is no legal basis for actually doing that. So being able to dive into the sandbox and get this hands-on proactive, like risk reducing, getting to ask all the difficult questions and then design our solutions from that. It's so much better way to approach this and making security and privacy business enablers for us and for also our customers.
Samson, what's the most important thing you'd like your students to take away?
Yeah, I think a few points. So I think the first point would be how you can basically take inspiration from regulation to kind of create value. So I think secure practice is a good example where they're trying to use existing regulation, but also, of course, empirical data behind breaches and security concerns to build a product which would help companies to be more secure, more privacy friendly. And I think another point is how this AI sandbox actually allows for a bit of kind of innovative solutions. So it kind of forces the data protection authorities as well as secure practice to think about really creatively how to address the privacy concerns of employees that are being surveilled. So by allowing them to be like this joint controllership, then preventing the employer from accessing these risk scores, you kind of balance those concerns and the value that you're proposing. And of course, the last point would be you can actually use participation in the AI sandbox as a way of, as you say, as Erlend mentioned, to publicize your company, but also to actually gain concrete solutions as secure practice has done. So I think those are at least my takeaways from the discussions.
Lots of value creation and also business opportunities, I guess, in the space of both privacy and ethics and cybersecurity.
I think we're seeing a global trend where Europe is actually leading on privacy and kind of regulation, although there is, of course, market reasons why, as a market, Europe wants to do this. But we're seeing, like, I was in Brussels a couple of weeks ago and met with Dragos Tudorache, who's a EU Parliament member and chair for the new AI Act committee. And there will be more regulation of AI as a domain. And he is a very big proponent of the sandbox concept, where you actually can deal with the pretty wide legal, like interpretation space and narrow it down to like understandable practices, because you gain this experience. And I think actually dataThe learned from our project. They say they do. They learn hands-on work with AI solutions, ours and the other projects, because there's so much. It's very like
open ground, I guess. A lot of open.
Absolutely. So, of course, from our project, we learned a lot. We applied that directly into our project and products, and then you can also learn from the process and how we do things in other contexts as well. So, like transparency, trust, and interacting with various groups of people. It's not just coding the tech. You actually need to talk with people. So I think that's an important takeaway for everyone engaged in AI. Just learn to know your stakeholders. And
I'd just like to add two things. First of all, every conversation we've had in this series was very much cross-functional, cross-subject matter conversation. So here we have a techie and an entrepreneur and the professor and the lawyer. And, I think the future is genuinely complex and will require you to know more than one subject. The other thing that I'm really fascinated is how much you actually learn by doing. This understanding that we can't just sit there and analyze while we are completely still how to regulate this, how to make good AI, etc. We have to experiment, we have to do, we have to build, and then we have to learn very, very quickly while we do that. That's, I guess, the only way to get there fast enough.
Yes, I agree.
Completely agree with this. I think this kind of sandboxes gives also the regulatory authorities not only just to learn how things work, but also to shape the technology at an early stage. I think one of the problems that has happened in relation to some technology, some of the big tech companies and their practices, is that there was no such opportunity to kind of shape it from early stage. So it then becomes very difficult to make it compliant afterwards. So I think you have to be a bit early ahead, proactive, and engage with the stakeholders. But of course, there is a risk that you have to be careful in. You should not also miss out from this regulatory perspective, watchdog, and then enforce the law. But I think if you don't have the insight into the technology, you won't be even to exercise that role. So I think engagement should be priority as well.
Engagement and impatience. Thank you both very much for an inspiring and very educational conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia.
Du har nå lyttet til en podcast fra LØRN.tech, en læringsdugnad om teknologi og samfunn. Nå kan du også få et læringssertifikat for å lytte til denne podcasten på vårt online-universitet LØRN.university.